Hey there. So this video is about martial arts training, but before you go, because this, you don't train martial arts or you're not interested in it, the reason I'm doing it is because since I have started training martial arts, and for those of you that don't know, I've been doing jujitsu for almost a year now. And the reason why I like this discussion is because I can always draw a parallel to weightlifting and other strength sport endeavors. My process for improving, and many people's process for improving, is similar to the process of improving in weightlifting. So martial arts to weightlifting, I can draw those parallels. And in this video particularly, I speak with Ramsey Dewey, another content creator. His channel's awesome. I will link that in the description. I will also link the full-length video that we did and what I'm taking from here. What I want you to do, I'm challenging you to kind of draw that similarity as well, because this is something that can help a lot of you guys get over the hump from either beginner to intermediate, maybe even just start weightlifting, or maybe even intermediate to advanced. This triad of performance that I talk about in this is very important because a lot of times people love it, and in the same thing in weightlifting, but in martial arts, they love thinking technique over strength or strength over technique. What happens if we pin a really strong guy against a smaller guy with technique? And vice versa. And the same thing happens in weightlifting. We talk about the guy who's super strong and can he outlift the guy who has a lot of technique who's not as strong. But there's one other factor that's missing, and that's the psychology. And that is the thing that bridges the gap to make you successful. So without further discussing this, I want to show you guys this video. I think I'm going to do a couple parts of this because this is very valuable information. I feel like I was really speaking from the heart when I talk about this. Also, Ramsey shows video of me training in jiu-jitsu, and I just want to tell you guys, like, I've gotten a lot better since that time. Okay, so don't judge me, please. I'm a lot better now. I'm still not that great, but I'm a lot better now. Anyways, enjoy this video and subscribe, and also subscribe to Ramsey's channel because he rocks. I love the guy. He's incredibly nice, very gifted speaker, and again, he speaks from the heart too. One of the things that I saw in the comments that was continually missed was the actual psychology. So what I've kind of outlined here for you, Ramsey, is a couple of different things. And the first thing I would say is called, like, what I'm just going to call the triad of performance. And so in this triad, the one that we're missing is psychology, the one that people missed in the comment section, and then they kind of skip over. And it kind of, without that third piece, the triangle, you can still be a decent practitioner in any sport, but you'll never allow yourself to improve at a certain point, and you'll never be elite. And so that triad is physiology. And so that's your output. That's strength, that's fitness, and that's power. Then you have specificity. Specificity, that's just technique. What are your demands of your sport? And again, not physically, not psychologically. This one is now a learned understanding of your sport. And what's interesting about technique, and I think this is what people are drawn to in technique, is that it's a lot less about genetic disposition, at least in the sense of many other athletic endeavors. It is more about practice. And because a great example of this is like learning how to do a triangle from closed guard. It's actually not difficult at all. The steps of doing a triangle, most humans can just do a triangle if a coach is right there walking them through every single step. Most humans,
it's mechanically simple.
Yes. And so if we look at jiu-jitsu in this way, almost everything is mechanically simple. There's, we're not doing gymnastics here, right? Like, so when we talk about technique and specificity in that way, what we're really saying is, here's a very simple movement that takes a lot of steps. And what's difficult about it is knowing those steps in and out, like it's a language to you, right? And being able to do them
wherever and whenever. The person who can throw up the triangle very fast and cinch it up and have all the other steps in line just in the back of their head, that's a technical person, but that's not always the most athletic person. That's not always the strongest person. That's not always the most gritty and other psychological factors. So that's what I would say is the other piece of the triad is specificity. The last one is psychology. And this one is the most, not most important, but it's the most overlooked, especially in your comment section, right? So psychology is, there's a couple of that I wrote here, but I would say humility is a good determination, because humility will allow you to take your ego aside and not focus on goals, but focus on process, right? When you take your ego out of it, you have zero expectations, and you can only focus on the highest standard of movement. So that's my biggest thing, is like have very low expectations, but have very high standards. Until you have proven yourself otherwise, there's no reason to expect anything. So that's a huge one, humility. Then there's grit, which is just, it's a very overarching term, but you would say your ability to fight through any sort of setbacks. And then you would have determination, which would follow into that. So those three pieces are absolutely necessary to develop in an athlete. And what I think people think is, if you have two of those three, you can be an incredibly good jiu-jitsu practitioner. I'd say better than the average, much better than the average. But you will lose to the person that has three. And furthermore, if you have two of those pieces, say that you have specificity and psychology, which is technique and the other psychological factors, if you have gotten very good at those, you might get beat by the guy who has the physiology advantages and has specificity, or he has the physiology and he has the grit and the determination. You might lose to that person. However, if you have all three of those things, you will not lose to that person. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that, and I think that at my level right now, I'd say my psychology and my physiology are pretty good. And if I have someone who has almost an equal level of specificity and psychology, or specificity and physiology, I will give them a run for their money. Again, that's equal levels, even though they're the opposite parts of the triangle. And so the main one that we're missing in this discussion is the psychology. And I have a couple other kind of offshoots of that.